I still see something, Daniel.
What are you measuring there?
The flush instruction.
The flush instruction?
The flush instruction.
Why is the flush instruction leaking?
Tunnels are everywhere, most of the time we're unaware, but horses know we're leaking all the time. When looking in the fridge, when Coffin does the bidding bridge, you start tunnels for fun and for the prize, cause start tunnels are with us all the time.
Did someone just use the toilet? Because the flush didn't work. I had to wait for the water to fill up.
Ooh, that's a side channel. The Flush+Flush side channel.
What is going on here?
Wait, is this supposed to be a joke about the flush instruction or the...
Come on, that's great humor, isn't it?
Let me rewrite this.
Because of caches.
Why? Wait a second. Caches? I understand that caches make memory accesses faster. But...
Oh, they only hide the latency actually. And only after the first access.
Okay, fair enough, yeah.
Think about it. What actually does the flush instruction have to do?
It has to flush the cache line. But look at the histogram. It's faster for a miss.
Why is it faster for a cache miss?
It totally makes sense.
So, first of all, the flush instruction has to check whether something is in the cache.
Correct. But the cache has several layers and slices, and checking all of that costs time and energy. So...
They don't do it?
Of course Flush+Flush is. It's architecturally defined. It has to.
But if it's not in the cache, it doesn't have to flush anything.
Oh, so it's a shortcut.
Ah, yes. And that means it takes less time if it's not in the cache.
Yes.
Ah, ingenious. What do we do with that?
I think you can do the same as with flush and reload.
But without the reload.
But we still need read access for a flush instruction.
Oh. But actually, you can do a lot more with Flush+Flush.
Flush+Flush?
Yes, we called this attack Flush+Flush. Although you actually just flush and measure how long it takes.
What more can you do with that?
The timing of the flush instruction, that's rather fast, like 130 cycles or something, including the measurement overhead. So it's really fast.
And that's faster than cache miss memory access.
Oh yeah, a lot faster. Cache miss memory access on the same system might take 300 cycles. We built one of the fastest covert channels, cache covert channels, at the time on top of Flush+Flush. So it is also very useful for other purposes. For instance, detecting dirty cache lines, because they have to be written back and that takes time. But also, as Jonas will suggest in the next scene,
there are different slices, and the flush command has to go from the core 0 all the way up to this other slide 3.
Ah, so requests and responses travel over this bus.
Exactly, and they travel only one slice per cycle.
And that means you could figure out how far away an address travels. So Flush tells us, without knowing the physical address or performance counter data, whether it is in our own slice, the address, or in another slice.
Yes.
How does that help us?
We could reverse engineer the functions, the slice functions, the mapping between the physical address and the slice.
At this point they have no idea what this is used for, right?
Yeah. Why are we even explaining this?
Well, we need to explain evict and reload. We need to explain prime and probe. So
I took this flush and reload side channel attack tool.
Okay.
See, and every time I press a key, we get a hit here.
Yeah, that's very impressive.
So when I change this to this new thing, what do we call this? Flush and flush?
Flush+Flush?
Oh, and now it's garbage.
Okay, so your attack doesn't work.
Yeah, no.
Oh, maybe I didn't adjust the threshold.
Oh, okay.
Let's go back to the...
How do you select a good threshold? Can you show the histogram again?
What would be a good threshold here?
Well, if you think about the peaks here, they are at 165 and 175, so maybe 170?
Or we could use something like 173 or something like that, because it's exactly the intersection between the two.
Yeah.
Let me try that. So yeah, it's more noisy, but it kind of works.
Yeah, it does work. But why is there more noise?
Can we check the histograms again?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, for Flush and Reload, we could any threshold here would...
That's very easy. Yeah. And nothing will get confused between those. And for Flush and Flush?
Yeah, so...
Yeah, clear difference.
Yeah. Also, there seems to be some variation. The previous histogram looked much cleaner.
Yeah.
Okay. But I guess we could do something with that for an attack where we run many traces anyway. For instance, the AES attack you mounted a few weeks ago.
Yeah. Why don't
This
you
could
try
be
it?
a really cool new attack. Jonas, I just pushed the code on our flat server. Can you run it there?
1 second.
Yeah? Oh. I mean, it sort of works.
It looks quite good, but there are 2 lines that doesn't seem to work at all.
It's also a bit more noisy than Flush and Reload. I don't know what these lines, why they don't work. It's...
Slices.
Oh, you mean the slices here affect the threshold?
Yes. Think about the histogram you drew to find the right thresholds. For this, you check only one address. If this address is in the same slice as your core, you find this one threshold. But if these addresses are in another slice,
Then the threshold isn't right anymore.
Because the threshold is so fragile compared to Flush and Reload.
Right. So when I ran the histogram on an address in the shared library, it always looks pretty similar. But look what happened when I ran it on the same address but from different cores.
Oh, so the timing is different there. And that totally makes sense. And if we take the slice function into account here, we can mount a more reliable, what did we call it?
Flush and Flush.
A more reliable Flush and Flush attack. Great.
That's interesting, but if Flush and Flush and Reload are so similar, why does it not make a difference for Flush and Reload?
I mean, the time difference is what, like 3 cycles for one slice or the other? So with Flush and Flush, you maybe have something like 170 for a miss, 112 for a hit.
So the 3 cycles can mess everything up.
Yeah, but for Flush and Reload, the time difference is much larger. So between the hit and the miss, so it's much easier to detect.
Yeah, so the huge timing difference that you have for Flush and Reload completely buries the timing difference that you have by the slices. But actually, there was a paper by Jarom et al. That also showed that you can measure the slice timing difference also via memory accesses.
Well, you lost me here, so where are we going with this plot?
Well, the most important cache attack techniques are Flush and Reload and Prime and Probe.
Yes, Flush and Reload. And Prime and Probe.
Yeah, so Flush and Reload, Prime and Probe. If you want to go from Flush and Reload to Prime and Probe, there are 2 puzzle pieces, 2 challenges that you have to solve. The first is slices, the second is eviction. We already talked a lot about slices. We showed the slice functions, we showed how we reverse engineer them in the last episode. We showed how they influence Flush and Flush now.
oh well, then let me jump in here.
What did we call it?
Flush and Flush.
Right, yeah.
You two are great.
Exactly. We will be famous.
The attack already exists. under exactly this name.
Oh, come on. We're going to keep making the same joke.
So we can go there anytime to work on our security project.
Whenever we want, we can go there, work on our assignments, everything. It's amazing. Wait a second.
That's rubber ducks, you know, rubber duck programming or debugging. Hey, what?
Do you remember Lucas' evict and reload loop?
Flush and reload, right?
No, evict and reload. Lucas tried to get rid of the flush instruction
Yeah,
and ended up with evict and reload.
yeah, but I mean,
We didn't know about slices back then.
exactly, yeah. Lucas' eviction loop was very, very simple, right?
He's only accessing, I have it open here, can have a look. He's only accessing megabytes of memory, that's it.
Okay, that's very, very simple. But what about it?
It could be way more efficient if you take slices into account.
Ah, of course.
Yeah, I will add that.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. So let me put these away. Phew. You now check for each address. Is it in the right slice?
Yes, and only use these for the eviction.
Okay, can we compare the histograms?
Of course, let me plot it quickly. So that's it.
Ah, yeah.
That's the first one. And that's the second one.
They look identical. So what's the difference?
The second one is over 100 times faster than the first one.
Oh, okay, that's substantial, yeah. But why is that important?
Blind spots.
Come on, this is supposed to be a funny sitcom.
You have blind spots in these attacks.
Blind spots, like where you can't see something?
Exactly. Imagine you have here a time, a reload, and a time again.
Did you see the primates code paper? They explained it really nicely.
Ah, you mean this figure here?
Yeah, so they analyzed all these blind spots for the cache attacks.
So that's the timed reload.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now we add...
The evict, and then it repeats.
Exactly.
But what do you do in this space in between here?
Ah, yes. You need some space to store the data, the sample.
And that's the blind spot.
Okay.
If the victim performs in excess after the reload and before the evict, we cannot see it.
Yes, similar to the observer effect.
So like the observer effect from quantum physics?
Yeah, sort of.
I mean, of course, every measurement you make influences the state. So if you evict or flush the cache, you change the state of the cache, the thing you want to measure.
Exactly. That's why it's important to minimize the eviction time, because that's the time where you are in this blind spot.
I'm sure we can optimize this further. So how much memory do you actually access there?
32 megabytes.
32 megabytes.
You can use a much smaller eviction.
Hey there.
Hey. So your last level cache, it is organized in slices, sets, and ways. You have...
8 megabytes?
Yes, and 4 slices, so that's 2 megabytes per slice.
With 64 bytes per cache line, that means about 32,000 lines?
Yes, and they are organized in sets. So normally in these modern Intel processors, you have exactly 2048 sets.
So 2 to the power of 11.
Yes.
And that means the set size is 16?
Yes, there are exactly 16 ways in the last level cache.
And that's also the reason you can evict a complete set with only 16 accesses.
Correct, but...
It works, but it's not great. Like 15% are not evicted.
Wait, how can they be not evicted?
I don't know.
Which I was about to say when you interrupted me, correct, but it won't work.
Why? I mean, it's 16 addresses.
Replacement policies.
You remember when we played Hanabi? We decided to where to put the new card.
Yeah.
And we used LRU there, so the least recently used replacement policy.
Oh.
Yes, and on this CPU it will choose between two different strategies, depending on the cache performance.
Okay. The first strategy is actually an approximation of LRU, and LRU always evicts the least recently used memory location in the cache. Henry Wong reverse engineered this, and he found that on Intel CPUs, older Intel CPUs, he did the experiments on, used 64 sets statically assigned to one of the strategies, and the other sets are follower sets to these.
And the other one is more like not recently used.
NRU.
NRU, yeah. And the idea there basically is that some cache sets are used more frequently and others not so frequently.
Yes, there are actually 4 age levels typically, 0 to 3. The pages with age 3 are evicted, and when you add a new page, or as we're talking about caches, could also be cache lines, then it gets age 2 when it's inserted. When you access a cache line or page that is already in the set, then it goes down to age 0.
And if you have nothing at age 3, then everything is moved up until something is at age 3.
Exactly.
But aren't cache lines evicted all the time then? Like the ones we just loaded into the memory?
Well, not if they are accessed very soon again, after they were loaded for the first time.
Okay.
So we need to access the address multiple times.
Yes, but...
But?
Well, if you perform these accesses right one after the other, it could be without any effect.
Okay. Yeah.
So we need to come up with some clever pattern to kind of trick the processor. Maybe we can try different eviction strategies. Imagine like looping over the 16 addresses and accessing each address twice. Yeah, I'll try that. Yeah, it's a bit better, but not really great. Okay. What about 3 times? Like 111, 222, 333. Let's see. Oh, I think it's even worse actually. Doesn't work. 15% not evicted. Maybe we should try to interleave them. So like 1 2 1 2 2 3 2 3. Yeah. Yeah, that's better. 3% not evicted. We're getting there. Okay. Let's try to combine these two. So use the 3 from before and have something like 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 2. Okay. And so on. Oh yeah, that looks good. Yeah? Yeah. 0.2% not evicted. This is almost perfect. It looks like the really slow eviction, but with only a few accesses. Yes. Yeah. But is it a problem that I have to run this with sudo? Why are you running this with sudo? Because I need physical addresses to find the correct slice.
The flush instruction.
We already said we don't allow the flush instruction anymore. But I wonder what happens if you replace the flush instruction there with the eviction loop that Andreas wrote a few days ago.
No.
Yeah, because they disabled that pretty much because of the text that you just mentioned there.
Oh yeah, but there are alternatives that we will also cover.
Yeah. Also, wasn't I in that scene before? When did I leave?
Oh, right. Wait a second. Can I check the script?
Didn't we rewrite this scene?
Oh yeah, I completely forgot about that.
The flush instruction.
The flush instruction? We already said we don't allow the flush instruction. But... I wonder what happens if you replace it with this eviction loop that we had a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
I think we should send a mail to someone.
An email to someone? Did I miss anything?
Wait a second, this is supposed to be overlapping timelines. People have different haircuts and everything.
Yeah, but Claudio, do you really think the viewers would notice?
Well, at least we didn't replace actors like some other shit.